Welcome to the World Football Summit podcast, the show for football industry leaders who want to stay ahead of the game. We bring you the latest insights, trends, and stories from the experts driving innovation and progress in sports business worldwide. Join us as we dive deep into the ideas and initiatives transforming the world of football. From sustainability and innovation to player development, fan engagement, and everything in between. Our goal is to unite the global football industry and drive positive change and progress. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the World Football Summit podcast. I'm your host, Jaime, Director of Content and Communications at World Football Summit. Content has become a key lever of the sports business model. We all know that by now. But today, I want to deep dive into how this space is evolving in the African continent, since it is a region with tremendous upside. And for this, I'm happy to welcome Sherif Hassan, Head of Digital and Marketing at CAF, and Thomas Plessis, Head of Sales EMEA at ScorePlay. And with their help, we're going to understand the sports business landscape in Africa, the challenges and opportunities around content. We will talk about digital transformation, broadcasting, trends to look out for. Yep, this one has it all. For those of you who don't know ScorePlay, they help sports organizations streamline media operations. They enhance distribution and, most importantly, monetize, which is why I think this is a relevant conversation for you guys out there. But before we kick off, a quick reminder, don't forget to subscribe and rate the podcast on your platform of choice. Share it with your colleagues as well. And if you want to stay ahead of the curve, subscribe to our newsletter. You can find all the links in the show notes. And remember, 2025 is going to be a busy year. I suggest you check out our website with all of our upcoming events. It's going to be a fun one. And now, let's welcome Sherif and Thomas to the World Football Summit podcast. Well, Thomas, Sherif, it's a pleasure to welcome you both to the World Football Summit podcast. I think we're going to have fun today because we're going to talk about topics that I really like, broadcasting, digital transformation, technology. We're going to solve the world. So guys, welcome.
Thank you, Jaime. Nice to meet you, and thank you for hosting us. Thank you, Jaime. Thank you. My pleasure.
Guys, so before we go into all of those topics, I guess I was wondering if you could briefly introduce yourself, and maybe mention your role, where you work. But I always like to ask my guest, why did you decide to pursue a career related to sports? So, Thomas, we can start with you if you want.
Okay. That's a good question. The reason why, basically, it has never been a question for me. I think since I'm 3 years old, I'm in a football stadium with my parent, with my family, my mother, my brothers, etc. So for me, it's a normal environment, and I've done like all my studies, like having this in mind, working in sports industry. I mean, I had the privilege that my father had a great career in sports, in professional sports, not as a sports guy, but like as a football executive. So basically, I really seen like the behind the scenes since I was super young, and I was super interested in seeing how we handle a transfer, how we run a club, etc. My brother had a similar career, so basically really involved in sports as well. So no doubt, I really wanted to do that. Basically, I started in 2014 working for the FIFA World Cup in Brazil because I did my last year of studies over there in 2012 and 2013. Basically, when I went back home in Paris, I said, like, there is no way I'm not working for the FIFA World Cup in 1 year. So basically, I really chase every opportunities to find a role. And I found like a role for HBS, Host Broadcast Service, that is like a main contractor of FIFA World Cup, FIFA, doing all the host broadcasting. Basically, it's a big company, part of Infront. And I've been working with them like for 5 months. So 3 months during the World Cup, and 1 month after. And I was assistant venue logistic manager in the stadium of Sao Paulo. So that was like the first step I had in this industry. And then I went for more traditional stuff at Ponce Paris, for example, the rugby club, where I spent like 5 years as a sales executive, finishing head of sales over there, and then doing in digital, etc., until I joined ScorePlay. So that's a bit of my journey. I won't be too specific because I think no one wants to listen too much about that.
Oh, no, I think it's interesting. But, thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing, Thomas. Sherif, what about you? What's your why?
Actually, luckily we almost the same. Like it's would never my doubt to work in sports because I'm what I call like I born and raised in the football stadiums. My father used to get me to the stadiums and since I was 2 years old, not even three. So I used to like to follow football matches everywhere, and then I started my career in communication. I got my graduation and bachelor in mass communication, and I started to be a journalist, analyst in football, building some websites, online platforms to cover the football in Africa, in Egypt, in Europe, and actually in different languages as well, like in Arabic. Then I changed a little bit my career in 2013 as well. I shifted to marketing. So I got the background of communication, mixing it with marketing. Then at this time, digital wasn't that uh, powerful like now. It was new thing and people didn't know yet. It's just social media. It's like content, create content, put posts. Like this is what people used to do at this time. Then I merged my experience as like coming from communication background with marketing and how we can package the content itself, how we generate revenues from content, how we generate revenues from the rights, digital rights. It's become like changing like very quick and very fast. So now I even do like the digital rights management studies. Then now I'm head of digital and marketing products in CAF, Confederation of African Football, managing all the operation of production of the content, distribution of the content, and digital rights management.
Good stuff. So it's going to be interesting. And actually, Sharif, uh, I think this is where we want to start. Let's look at the big picture now, which is, how has the business of football in Africa evolved over, last few years, and kind of like where you see it going, if you will.
Okay, that's a good question as well because like we suffered for many years that people didn't know that Africa has a huge industry in sports, especially in football. Yes, people always knows our players. They always knows the African players like Samuel Eto'o, Didier Drogba, Michael Essien. Like they play everywhere. They play all over France. They play in Italy. They play everywhere, but they didn't know the industry in Africa or how it comes from Africa. They thought like the players they are only playing abroad. They're only playing for European clubs, and they exceed. They reached like a very high point. The names I just mentioned, they are everyone knows. They got like many titles, Champions League, and everything. But people didn't know what is the background of those guys, how it comes, where it comes from, and how they manage it. So in Africa, we have a huge fan base for football. Uh, yeah, many of the African youth traveling from the youngest age to Europe to find an opportunity to play for European clubs. They play there, they prove themselves, then they come back. But for me, it stayed like that for many years till we started like to see like okay if you because I'm in CAF since 8 years. So, and then when I started it was different and totally different than now. African football, it's a like what we say, it's a treasure for talents. Firstly, you can get talents everywhere because African playing football all the time and everywhere. It's like for me, it's like Latin. Yeah, okay, you can find like a very skillful player in Brazil playing in the street. It's the same in Africa because of the climate, because of the um, maybe poverty, because of the streets. There is no many infrastructure or maybe like facilities to play football like in a proper way. But these circumstances, it can create more like powerful player, like more people like they have strengths from their younger age. They have power. They can play and they can give like way skills or added value to any team they joined. And this is actually what usually happen. In terms of organizing that, you need to have like a proper competitions when it comes to youth, grassroots, clubs level, senior level, or national teams. And this is actually what CAF is doing right now. We have like more than 20 competitions and all the level, like youth, under 17, under 20, under 23. And we have seniors, we have club competitions, which is very big and very fanatics when it comes to Mano. Like when our clubs playing against each other, it's a huge thing in Africa. Maybe people didn't know because they didn't watch it, but actually, the atmosphere itself, it's crazy in the stadiums. For me, it's just like a what I call like, and in terms of numbers as well, because now you can see from the analysis or the statistics, you found like the African population, it's 70% of it are youth. 70% are between like 20 and 35. 70% are youth. They are dealing with everything. They are dealing with engaging with everything related to sports and everything. So it's create like a huge potential for any business if you want to invest like any business, especially in our fields like digital and everything. So it's a huge asset for us. Now we get the attention as well, not only because the Africans who are living in Africa, but actually because of the Africans as well living abroad. Diaspora people living abroad, like Africans, you can see them in France all the time. You can see them in Italy. You can see them in even the US. Some of them are like second and third generations. They born and raised outside Africa, but actually they're still interested with the roots, still connected. They want to watch, they want to interact, they want to wear the outfits, the African colors, they want to listen to the African music. So this is what how we see the African football future.
And one question, Sherif, because I mean, I agree to that point, the youth, everybody says that they're not interested in football, and I tend to disagree with that. I just think that today they have so many options to consume sport. So it's your live match, it's your social media clips, but it's also your documentaries, your video games, whatever you want to call it, no? So how, to me, that's all content and it becoming a key pillar of the sports business model. So how have you seen that evolution? How has that changed in terms of how people are consuming football now?
Yeah, I see it as everyone see it, but for me, from my side, I have different approach here, because yeah, Africa, we live like for many years without any infrastructure related to communication, related to internet bandwidth or like the internet connection in some African countries. Now it's not only started; it started from the end. Like almost all the African countries has 5G. Yeah, I know that the past two or three generations they didn't have the opportunity to watch and see or engage with many other things, as you said, like how to see clips or how to see highlights or how to see even gamification or playing. Like, for example, like the English Premier League fantasy, like it started like 10 years ago, and at that time there is no too much internet in Africa, but now no way. If you check any platform, even like go and check like Spotify for a music platform, you will see the Afrobeats numbers like very high, because it started not from like, we are not like 10 years back. Actually, in Africa, it's become like more faster.
Yeah. The market penetration for the telco companies is just crazy, like in Africa, so that like everyone has the a smartphone and they can like check the content, log, play, etc., engage with the content. And I think like what Sharif just said, like having a strong culture with like colors and different dance in the stands, where 'cause Sharif like created a nice campaign during the last AFCON, but like the talent of the player, the demography, the tech penetration on the market, basically it shows that Africa is like one of the most has the most potential in sports market for sure. And digital, in my opinion, is as like might be a priority or must be a priority to exploit this potential growth on this market, because basically all those audience, they are between 20 and 35 years old, and they're like mainly digital users. So I think that's the main opportunity.
Awesome. Thanks, Thomas. And
I hope you agree with me, Shay.
Yeah, 100%. No, 100%. That's why we are now, when we discuss, even me and Toma, even with the higher management, we are saying like, okay, we definitely we are not going to the future. We are in the future.
Exactly.
So we are now in the future. Like we don't speak like it's digital is coming. Digital is like no. We are there. The digital results of the last Africa Cup of Nation of the one in Cote d'Ivoire was huge. We did like a huge numbers. Even now we are waiting for the all the results. We are benchmarking ourselves as number two federation after UEFA. And actually, the numbers were very high when it comes from platforms, when it comes from like statistics or like providers of business analysis and agencies that working in this field when it comes to commercial, everything that's saying like, okay, we have now, maybe people start considering the African football now because now it's become the numbers that are reflecting a huge progress in this field and a huge progress not only for, as I'm telling you, like not only from Africa, but actually from African living abroad and actually from Europeans living, like following the African football because they start to consider the players, they are playing in their teams, playing in another competition. They didn't know anything about it before, but now it becomes bigger for them.
And Thomas, how does this context compare to other regions that, because you guys are pretty much all over the place. So how do you define it or how do you compare it with other regions?
I mean, the speed and the potential of growth, Africa and CAF has nothing like comparable right now in the industry, maybe except some emerging league that are starting from nothing. I'm thinking about the Major League Pickleball and some of them that we're working with. But basically, they are building a new sport. For CAF, they are not building the sport. They are on the number one spot. They have a massive continent with like great talented players. So there is nothing like super comparable, in my opinion, in terms of potential. Like again, we mentioned it. We mentioned the talented, which we mentioned everything. But what really like I don't know if it's English word. Sorry about that. But like struck me or hit me in the face was when I met Sherif the first time. I felt like there was so much like unexploited audiences worldwide for the African football. For example, I used to work in the broadcasting industry, and we had like only 20 broadcasters worldwide for AFCON. So it means like it's hundreds of territories that are not covered by this kind of content, which is the number one competition that CAF is producing. And basically, like hundreds of millions of persons that might be interested in this content were not like covered by this content. And I thought it was like a massive, unexploited audience. Since then, I think the team from the broadcasting from CAF, Luc Solo and Hassan and all the other guys made a great job, and they multiplied by 2 or 3 the number of broadcasters. So now it's much more covered. But still, you have like some countries where you have nothing. And in my opinion, like there, you still can like approach and engage new audiences through non-traditional broadcasters, through content creators, through influencers, etc., that are interesting in this kind of content. And basically, that's not even the role to CAF to tell the story to the fans in those territories, but to give the story to someone that will hit the audience and really like tell the story on purpose on behalf of CAF. I think that's the main challenge is to bring more people interested in and find new broadcasters, basically. I don't know if I understand perfectly your question, Hai.
No, it does. And actually, I was actually going to ask Sharif if he could ask more challenges, I mean, and obviously, okay, we're speaking about Africa, like it was just a word. We know that it's a vast region, it's very, diverse, and the challenges may differ by market, region, whatever you want to call it. But I don't know if there's any common pattern, Sharif, that you can help us understand more a little bit about the challenges there, So,
I think we are facing the same like challenges with like all the federations. Like it's nothing special here. Like the only thing is like okay, mainly we are facing the challenges. Maybe it's because of the schedule, like the football schedule, like all over the world now. It's very tight. Like many competitions playing in the same time, and sometimes like we are playing while the national or like domestic leagues is playing, so we are facing like issues with releasing the players from the clubs. Meanwhile, if you moved it to somewhere, this is like something like maybe we can say like Africa climate, it's different. So it's we have like all summer. We don't have winter in Africa. We have winter actually in some areas, but not like so common. But during this summer, we have two types of summer, so wet summer and dry summer. So because of the climate, because of the this area, it's like almost like 60% of Africa. So if you move the Africa Cup of Nations to summer, it will be rainy, not rainy like you can deal with, like it's very heavy rains that you cannot even reach the stadium, or the teams will to reach like that. They will not train, they will not do anything. So because of that, we always play the Africa Cup of Nations in winter. I know it's a big issue with European teams and big issues with the leagues. They're saying, "Oh, why those guys put the competition like in the middle of the season?" But actually, because of this is like the continent, the climate, and we cannot change it. Like when we have like the host country have like a little bit summer, like normal summer, we move the competition to summer and we played it. But mainly it cannot be managed all the time in the same time. So we try to compromise and to make it happen like some in some date. This is yeah, mainly sometimes a huge challenge because you don't know when it will be happen. But when it happens, everyone is there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And Thomas, in terms of like the digital transformation piece, because you guys work together, no? Are there any challenges or anything that you really thought was an obstacle that had to be overcome, that it was very difficult to do?
With Sherif, nothing is impossible. That's the first thing you have to learn, and that's the main takeaway of this podcast, for sure. I think there is always like a cultural thing of why do we need to change? Why do we need to go digital? Why my archive that are on videotapes somewhere should be digitized at some point, etc., etc. And that's for every organization. When you talk to FIFA, when you talk with Premier League, the French League One, whoever you're talking with, the willingness to change is super important. But when you have like someone that has a vision and you have a good ally like Sherif, things are getting easier. And in that case, basically, um, what Sherif had, he had like gold in his garage. Basically, he had a lot of product to sell. When I'm talking about, not personally, I'm talking about the archive of CAF, of course. But basically, he has this kind of footage that was super interesting. And what we just did at ScorePlay, we built a nice shop on the Champs Elysees so that he can sell all the footage he has, like to all the broadcasters or any takers worldwide. But I would say, yeah, number one cultural thing. And now, as we are also like keep working on different projects together, what we try to do, it's like really gather the entire ecosystem on one single platform. For example, in every organization I meet, there is like this kind of digital world versus broadcast world, because it's not the same technology, it's not the same background. Sherif is coming from marketing communication, where the broadcast came from TV production, etc. Someone are super tech, someone are super digital, someone using like super complex tools, some others like super simple, etc. And those two worlds, they are never like properly communicating and working together, because one thought it was the most important and the other was just the other 1%. And then the 1% became a 30%, and now it's starting to threaten a bit more the other. And basically, we need someone that takes a step back and step up in this and says, okay, why do my 30% really push hard to make 70% much higher, basically? And why my 70% should not help like 30% to bring more and more money, because that's where the growth is. And basically, that's reconciliating and gathering those two worlds that are always the most challenging part that we are facing. But now we have the tech, the solution, and the way of working. We see it with CAF. We have a great relationship with broadcast department. Basically, all the project that Sherif built for CAF has been to deliver a better service to the TV, to the broadcasters, etc., etc. And that's a super, super good example, in my opinion, on where digital can support TV, and also when TV can support and feed digital, because on ScorePlay platform, on CAF Play, basically, we have all the broadcast quality content, we have all the live feeds, etc., on the platform. So I think it's a super interesting use case of success on how those two two worlds can communicate and create value together.
And Sharif, now that Thomas is not listening, I don't know if you can tell us a little bit about how this has impacted the overall sports business model. And I don't want to know any numbers and all that because I understand there's NDAs that you need to respect, and I'm not looking for that. I'm looking more for like general frameworks or general knowledge that you believe can the audience learn from.
Okay, let me go through like the timeline of like how even digital evaluate. Okay, because I'm telling you, like I started from communication, then digital started as like a communication tool, communication to tell people like what is the pictures, what is the result, and everything. So people went to digital to check only the information. So it started as a communication tool so people knows the information or the news or even like sometimes a press release. Then it becomes like more for like coach or like that. So it started as a way of communication. Then digital shifted to be like, okay, there is the only way of communication, direct communication for any entities with their fans. This is the only direct way of communication because otherwise you always rely on third party, which is like a newspaper, news platform, or like journalists. They are working with you as a PR like network or somehow. So at the end, there is someone in between, like between your fans and you. There is someone like transmitting this message for you. And then here it becomes like more like a issue, like why digital is replacing the traditional media, or like how come like people we need to take care about the journalist more, do more press conferences or do more press releases like for the journalists because otherwise they will not work, and this is like the piece of the industry. And then this is was the next for me, like if I say like first, second, and then when you realize that this is the only way of communication, like entities should start see how to change. And this is actually the phase like we are trying to do in CAF, like how we build digital from being only direct communication to fans and generate those fans to go to TV and watch the matches, because people maybe didn't know that there is a big match today between Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire playing in the semi-final of the AFCON. But when they see some like creative content or content on digital, like even like sometimes through influencers, sometimes from platforms, from anyone, maybe they go to the TV and watch the match, or at least search about it, like where it will be played. I want to watch this match if I'm not. So the third rule was like to drive fans going to TV to watch the matches, because we are not broadcasting the matches, but actually we want to create this like posting or promotion in order to drive the fans to the TV, and TV generate the money. What I'm seeing like coming next, it's not like that, because TV now it's becoming like not weaker, but actually it's the dynamic of the market that changed a little bit, and now people going to digital platforms, which is on smart TVs such as OTTs and all the platforms, even not only on sports, but actually like many people now, they don't have receivers, they don't have like satellite, they don't have cables, they only go to application, get Netflix or Apple TV or anything, and they watch whatever they want. So it's becoming more threat to TV guys. Started as threat for communication guys, and now it's a threat for TV guys. Well, again, we can find like, and this is like what I'm thinking now, and this is our strategy for the next 2 years, how to create like how we make digital as investable product. We are not competing with TV. We are not competing with communication. We are in between both of. We are not competing with commercial for sure. Like sponsors, they came because of the engagement, the higher level of engagement, and digital sponsors now came and put like in the contract like 3 articles for visibility for banners in the stadium, and like 7 or 10 articles or like points for digital activations. So they know where is the fans now, and they know how they want to target them. But again,
In my opinion, I don't know if you're okay with that, Sharif, but we should also consider that there are fans that will never watch a free game on TV, and maybe they just want to watch like the last Netflix documentaries about the AFCON, about any Ivory player or Egyptian player. They maybe just want to see highlights. Maybe they just want to see like some behind the scenes on Instagram or wherever. and just consider that, okay, now what's the plan to deliver like super personalized content to all those guys to monetize them another way that we traditionally do with TV. And I think the fact that we assume that and we go straight to this strategy makes also sense, you know?
Yeah, 100%. That's why we are saying like we are splitting it in three words. Like reach. Firstly, you need to reach your fans. Then you need to engage with them, and then generate the revenues from them. Because okay, you reach them. They are watching on TV, but actually, like, and again, like I will give you another like insight. Now, if even if they watch the 90 minutes on TV, during the 90 minutes, they keep doing something on their mobile. They keep sending messages, they keep playing something, they keep chatting with their friends. So even when they are watching on TV, they are doing a digital activity. So again, like okay, so now you have all the fans that are not watching the full matches on TV, and you have the fans that actually watching the match on TV, doing the same thing, doing a digital activity. So from both of them, you can create something, you reach them, engage with them, and then try to find a way to make it an investable product. And this is what actually Thomas was saying, like, okay, we will support TV to get like a digital solution that support them for their TV product broadcasters. We will support commercial to get a digital arms that support them in their sponsorship rights and everything. Meanwhile, all of that people didn't recognize it, or like I'm not saying people, I'm saying like the higher people, like they didn't recognize that actually digital is the driving of the revenues for all other assets. Even if the money is not coming from digital, actually it's the fuel of any revenue coming to the entity.
And when you're saying digital, it's content on one side, data on the other side, but for sure, that's something we see. And basically, that's what we are trying to build at ScorePlay. It's like centralizing the content coming from broadcaster archive, uh, clubs, leagues, federation associated to CAF, for example, all centralized in one platform and reach. We scale production, and basically we optimize the distribution through okay, the right content to the right person at the right moment through the right platform. Basically, that's the overall, I think, vision we share with Shay.
Yeah, yeah, and we did like a really nice activity as well. Like this is a very important one, and I'm always mentioning it. Even UEFA guys, they ask me about it because now we are distributing as well the footages and the video for the players. We are using the players as our influencers because we found, as I'm telling you, like many of our players are more stars than our competitions. So, so if you have like 20 or 50 players that really well known, like Mo Salah, like Sadio Mane, like players that even more famous than Cap. We are not competing. We are not like saying like this is our competition, this is our vital. No, we give them all the potages they want through ScorePlay as well. We give them directly with a QR code, like all the footage they are during the match. And some of them they are posting directly after the match, or even like some of them posting it during the halftime.
Yeah, that's the role of content there, right? And I heard it once defined very well, which is content drives engagement, and engagement leads to revenue, right? And that was where my question was going for you guys now is okay, how do you monetize from this? How do you drive revenue from all of these efforts?
Yeah, we have many layers of monetizing, but now we are not in this phase. Now we are building more of the product itself. That's what I'm telling you. Like during the last 2 or 3 years, my aim was like to change the mindset of like even internally and externally about the African football. So even our slogan for the last strategy for the last AFCON, we said like the AFCON would be a digitally incredible. So we prepare to produce content, distribute content everywhere, so everyone knows that this is something big happening, and we build it on the as Thomas said, we build it on culture, music, and fashion, because we see this like the three pillars of the African culture, the African movement. So we create a move like that. It's not something like playing for Africa. It's even if you are not even interested in football, you will be interested in this festival. You will come and wear okay. Because if I ask you, Khami, like what you remember about the African football, maybe you will tell me like Roger Mila dancing, like or like the Vuvuzela in 2010. This is like African football in.
I hate Vuvuzela. I shouldn't say it, but I'm sorry. I really hate Vuvuzela.
I mean, like the concept itself, you will not remember any match like African player playing in the World Cup, like the result of that performance. You will remember dance, teams like dancing, or bands doing like some sort of activity, colors, African Cup, even players putting some hair dreads or doing like some haircuts. This is the African football. We are not saying like we are playing the best football, the best 90 minutes. We are not playing them, but we give the most like excitement vibe that anyone can see. So we build on that. We build on that digitally incredible theme of like creating like we asking the players to come to Cote d'Ivoire wearing the traditional attire, wearing the traditional outfits. And they came, everyone doing a fashion show like in the airport, like all the players, people were surprised. Oh my God, how you convince the players to come like that? Because they are coming to enjoy. This is the African culture. They come everywhere, they will sing, they will dance, even if they lost. This is the mindset.
It's about the experience, no? At the end of the day.
Yeah, it's the experience. So now we're moving to the other phase for the upcoming Africa Cup of Nations. How to create from this hype, okay, that people now they know there is a product, how we can make it more generate coming to your question, generating more revenues from many players. So we have many layers. We have many layers actually to support TV broadcasting, selling like rights, even like digitally or undigitally, or support the selling of broadcasting, promoting the sponsorship and promoting the sponsorship deals, giving more content inventory for commercial visibility, for commercial contracts, giving more digital activations for sponsors, and discovering a new tools like mobile, like ScorePlay, like broadcasting, like cutting things like archive, monetizing the archive. We have many solutions to monetize from digital now.
Yeah, and I think we didn't even discover what's gonna be the last monetization thing, in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, basically. And I think that's what is super super interesting.
And actually, I mean, at the end of the day,
And what one last thing, I think Sherif hit the nail. He said like, okay, we are basically supporting all the revenue stream and pillar, and we have like specific digital revenue stream that we are creating. But one super good example, in my opinion, is the French LFP last media rights cycle. So not this one, but basically they carved out the near live rights. They sold it for free. So free is the name of the telco. It was not free. It's the name of the telco. And basically, it was like 10 or 15% of the overall media rights were on the near live. And basically, near live can only be powered by like some specific tech and content scalability software like ScorePlay or others in the market. So I feel that yeah, that's exactly what we need to do as a software provider. Is trying to. It's cool to build tech, but if it's just to build tech in our garage, it doesn't make sense. No, the real thing, we have to solve real pain, sorry, or to find real revenue stream to offer to our clients, basically.
yeah, and what I heard you say there is that, content at the end of the day is a driver of the traditional sports business model, of the different elements, whether it's the match day, whether it's the broadcasting, whether it's the commercial. It doesn't compete, it's kind of like an accelerator, if you will, no? Um, so that's interesting. And guys, I mean, we just have a few minutes left, but I really need to understand from you guys, because you are, on the field of play, if you will. What are some, I don't know, trends, opportunities, things to look out for? Or even if you want to take it from the angle of what have you learned by working together that, the rest of the industry can learn from? I mean, just take it wherever you guys want. I'm sure we can start with you if you want.
Yeah, as I said, I think that the good points, a good like potential, like to use the players as individuals and as a distributor for your content. This is like a takeaway we take from working together with ScorePlay, and actually we see the results out of it. When the player like themselves they promote the competition, it becoming like totally different. Again, like takeaways as like people like they are not have now, and actually the teenagers they don't have the time watch full matches or long form content. So you need to engage with them through short form content through their platforms like TikTok, like Instagram Reels. You need to create something for them because this is like the most important now. They want to deal like with 10, 15 seconds maximum content. Music, mainly music, because we see like football is entertainment. It's not like competitive to the entertainment. Football is entertainment, and to engage or to reach the fans of the entertainment, you need to use the languages. So you need to ingest the music in your way. Somehow, this is like for me, for sure. Like it depends on the culture again, like how, and the target audience, and where and when you are targeting your fans. So it's important to understand your fans correctly and then target them with the right solution and content.
I was just going to say that, at the end of the day, first, you have to understand the fans' behavior and then you apply the technology. But I mean, I don't know if, what you were going to say, Thomas.
No, I was saying like a takeaway from me was like we learn at ScorePlay like the different level of maturity that you can have within an organization, and I think a confederation like CAF is really like the good example because you have like 54 national federations, right, Sherif? Yes, and they don't have like the same level of development and maturity, digitally speaking, for example. And you need to build a tool that is easy to use by everyone because that's tech. If tech is not used, it's useless basically. Sorry for this stupid sentence, but that's true. And I think that's one of the key takeaway. Like if you want to benefit your ecosystem, you have to be as simple as possible to understand and to use. The other thing, at first time I met Sherif, I remember I jumped in a plane to go to Alger. Um, because it was the U17 final competition final, whatever. And I knew like no other provider would have go into this competition. So I was the only one as a provider in the hotel lobby to meet Sherif and the rest of the team. So I remember exactly, and my approach was like, okay, you have like such an unexploited audience right now worldwide. Why do we try to do something together to touch these guys? And basically, normally the first thing you are thinking about at that moment is OTT, this D2C channel, which is in a good idea. But then you look at a bit more the market and you see like the fragmentation of all the platform, many big hubs. Normally, it should centralize at some point on like few hubs where most of the content will be. So it might not be that the best solution. And again, when you launch this kind of platform, you have also to invest a lot of money to promote this platform on every territory. And basically, then you need to think about, okay, how do I promote on this territory? I have to deliver like a world-class content, not only on the platform, but also on my communication and promotion channel. And then I will maybe have to send like the full story to some influencer that can like um, tell my story on those territory. So basically, just to say that maybe a D2C channel, uh, you need to have like already the full and ready to go to market media infrastructure before you launch, because then you need to feed it. And again, that's another takeaway I had from Africa and African football is that um, you don't address the same way a guy in Kenya than a guy in Morocco, than a guy in Egypt, than a guy. And we are just talking about like the domestic market. And then there is like you're not approaching the same way the guy in Brazil, the guy in the US, etc., etc. So yeah, before going like full D2C to get your audience, like maybe you can leverage people that already have audience that have like a strong interest in your content and basically deliver them like the right experience. It reminds me a story of my kid yesterday that was like crying because she wanted a story before to go to bed, like as every kid. And I went there and I read a story about a penguin or whatever, like a penguin or whatever. Basically, it was when I went out the room, she was like screaming at like hell because she didn't want me to tell the story. She didn't want to hear this kind of story, and that's exactly what we are saying. Like you should know exactly what your fan wants to hear and how they want to hear it before telling the story.
You would not believe how much I resonate with that story because that same exact thing happening to me yesterday night. So, I feel you.
Yes.
Next time
Yeah.
I look at my kid, I'm going to say, so you're like a football fan, So thank you for
But
that.
exactly. But I mean, I hope like the other sports execs that are listening to the podcast, it will resonate because I feel it's really the case, you know?
Yeah. When I look at my kids, little football fans. There you go. Okay. Guys, this has been great. And I think we need to wrap up. I mean, I could keep going for hours because, the topic does for that, and I want to thank you. I guess I just want to ask you, before we wrap up, just out of curiosity, we're going to shift into a little bit of more football focused question, which is who's going to be the next African Ballon d'Or winner?
Oh, that's a good question.
Mo Salah.
Mo Salah?
Do I need to say that Sherif is Egyptian?
Yeah, but I'm not a huge fan for him, as an Egyptian. I'm not a huge fan of him as an Egyptian, but actually he's doing like a great performance, and actually he's a consistent. And if you think about it, because I was discussing it with my friends like 1 week ago, if you look at it like from perspective that for the next year, especially for the next year where we don't have any major competitions, if he just be consistent with the numbers he's doing now, there is no one can compete because now his level it's very high. You need a major competition, either Euro or World Cup, to find another player doing more achievement. But
Sherif.
otherwise,
I will tend to disagree. I think it will be Edouard Mendy just for one reason. He's a ScorePlay investor. Sorry, he really deserves it.
We're not going to argue against that, huh? Anyway, guys, so any last words you guys want to share with the audience? Where can people find more about you, what you guys are doing? I mean, the floor is yours. So
no, just follow CAF Digital and we are coming.
yeah, better be ready.
For sure we will. For sure we will. But I hope this podcast has been interesting for the audience. It's been cool for me to share like some insights and discuss a bit with my friend Sherif. Uh, I think it's not over the project together. So I look forward for the next one to share what we've done
Oh
new
yeah,
and some updates. Yeah.
keep us posted. I mean,
But
it's
thank you
been
very
interesting
much
for
for
me.
hosting us.
I'm sure the audience has found it valuable. I know I did. So I want to thank you guys for your time and your lessons. And we'll be in touch definitely for that round two. All right.
Thank you, Jaime. Thank you,
Thank,
Sherif.
thank
Thank
you.
you, Thomas.
Thank you
Thank you,
both.
Khan. It was really fruitful.
Cheers. Bye. Have a good one.
Cheers. Bye. And there you have them, Sherif and Thomas. That was a fun one, and it was intriguing because I really agree. Africa has a lot of potential, and we believe that to the core at World Football Summit. And hopefully, we'll have some surprises for you, in the upcoming months. But anyway, I digress. Some takeaways for you to take home. I would say that at the end of the day, they have a lot going for them. Why? Well, we have a huge fan base. They're passionate. The demographic is there. I mean, it's undeniable. In a way, it's kind of like, reminds me of a little bit of Saudi. It's just a matter of, the tech penetration is also there, which is something that I did not know. It's just a matter of putting it all together, this unique context that Thomas was speaking about, how do you put it all together and actually help them tap into these business opportunities? And I think content, as we were mentioning, is just going to be a key driver for them. Why? Because it's going to accelerate the entire business model. It's going to help accelerate in terms of match day attendance. It's going to help them in terms of broadcasting, and of course commercial partnerships. It's not going to compete, And today's fan I guess we've said it before. No, it's more fragmented and less passionate, but they still want to engage with the sport, right? They're not denying, the interest in sport. It's just they consume it differently. So that's, I think, what you need to understand. First, you need to understand the fan, understand their behavior, and then apply the technological solution that is going to be needed. So I would encourage you guys to follow what's going on in Africa. And as we said it, a content at the end of the day. Well, actually, Shay's saying it. You need to reach your fans, then you need to engage with them, and then you need to drive revenue. And I think content is a key pillar there. We've said it before. Content drives engagement, and that engagement is going to lead to revenue. Um, and what else? I guess at the end of the day, really, even if in a diverse region like Africa, there's still a lot of opportunities. But again, it all goes back to understanding the fans and how do you get the most out of that understanding, Anyway, I don't know if there's anything else that stood out to you guys. If so, make sure you reach out on social media, share with us your thoughts. And of course, share the episode with anyone that you believe can find this valuable. And rate the podcast, subscribe. It does help us a lot. So I would encourage you to do that. And nothing else from my side. Hopefully, we'll see you in the next episode of the World Football Summit podcast. And hope you have a great rest of your day.